we were talking about what we are talking about. We are talking about that love, emotional freedom, emotional freedom. For the sake of understanding, go with the French philosopher. I think, therefore I am. Do you want a cup of tea? I don't think so. So you disappear. I don't think so. Because you don't think, so you are not there. So who will take a cup of tea? Do you have stress? I think so. So you have a stress. So just think. We have to think and contemplate and reflect. So I exist before I think, eat, react, respond, blame, complain, and stressed. I'm concluding. Are you getting it? But the fact is that I exist before I think, before I eat, before I react, before I respond, before I blame, before I complain, before I stress. And I'm linking this to the emotional brain. Emotional brain does not think, it has an involuntary response, including the goosebumps. Sometimes we have a goosebumps. So never think that goosebumps has to do with something good or bad. Emotional brain creates that goosebump only to fight and flight. Sometimes we listen to the good music and we have a goosebumps. So we think that this is the emotional brain is creating a good response. No, it has to work with a fight and flight. So when thinking brain fails to respond, pay attention. When thinking brain fails to respond, we are attached, then we are worthy of suffering. Did you get it? I started the talk, I think, therefore I am. Do you want a cup of tea? No, I don't think so. So you do not exist. So simple. No, we normally use the term, I don't think so. So that comes from the emotional brain. And when you live wisely, you know how to respond by a thinking brain according to the science. But what happens, my friends, that we have to, there is another principle that needs to be understood. You see that we have a principle of japa. Japa means that you take one mantra and you repeat it again and again and again and again with knowledge, with understanding, with clarity. So what is the modern education system? You study the book and you prepare a main points, you pass the examination and you throw the book. But here in Eastern wisdom, we don't throw the book and we repeat it again and again. But when we repeat it again and again means that we have to contemplate, we have to reflect on it until the ignorance is gone. So once the ignorance is gone, we find that emotional brain is replaced by a brain that lacks the false I, that is absence of the false I, and the love takes over. And then we say existence is love. So it gives us a sense of emotional freedom. I'll start with the bites of wisdom from the main text, Upanishads, and then we will directly go to understand these Upanishads. Same question. Why I gave these two examples. Ask yourself how many times, how many situations, how many locations, how many people caused you upset, anxious, scared, stress, and suffering since we met last time. Did it happen that after the session, you said, okay, he is good, but I have a lot of stress? Emotional brain. And that emotional brain takes over your thinking brain. Then you start thinking accordingly. You start thinking, oh, I have a stress. Yesterday I had it, I was feeling so much. What I'm saying, what I am saying, that you have to contemplate and reflect. The emotional brain has only one involuntary response: fight and flight. This is what we understand from the science. So when we start thinking consciously, and the master gives us the great principle, I'm not worthy of suffering. I'm not worthy of suffering. Can you declare in your life? Can you contemplate on it? Whatever the situation may be. So what exactly, why I started this topic, you get rid of that emotional brain. You take over it consciously. So that emotional dependence drops from the brain first. You start thinking consciously, you start living wisely. See the beauty of the Eastern wisdom. When you start living wisely, it means I have to think with the power of discernment and dispassion. How dare your mind claim that you have a stress, anxiety, depression, duality, and a conflict? How dare? Next question I have been asking: are you living wisely? How many times you got upset? You see, that is one way to express it. Are you living wisely? No situation, person, event, thing, possession outside is responsible for my suffering. The moment you say this, and then your mind consciously starts thinking, at least then you are not emotionally attached. There is no sense of emotional dependence with the world outside. So when you don't have that emotional dependence outside, you give a gap between false I and the real I. It has to be lived. It has to be applied in order to allow to move the mind from the emotional dependence to the emotional freedom. I discussed about Ashtavakra, one of the great masters. His body was deformed at 8 places. We never heard and read that he was depressed because his body was deformed at 8 places. He declared that he is not worthy of suffering. Swami Vivekananda at the age of 18, Shankara at the age of 12, Buddha, all are examples of living wisely. Living wisely simply means that you live with the knowledge what is absolutely right and good. What is absolutely right and good? Understand in a different way and remember this all the time that I want to earn wealth. Well, there are two kinds of desire. One desire is that I want to get something from the world outside. It may be a wealth, it may be a house, it may be a relationship, it may be a love from the soulmate. That one we want to get from the world outside, that is constantly changing. And another desire is that we desire the real self. The real self is already within us. You are not seeking anything from outside. So question of emotional dependence do not arise. So that emotional dependence is a false. It must be dropped. This is what the master is saying. And that is what we get by listening and learning again and again and again and again. Contemplation and reflection and doing the practice. The time comes, you feel that sense of emotional dependence, emotional free. Pay attention and you start applying that. So that once we have a feeling, a sense of emotional freedom, then only we can study these Upanishads. So I have told you that for the sake of emotional freedom, ah, why we want that sense of emotional freedom? Because the mind will be naturally focused on whatever the work we are doing. The mind will remain free. 99% the mind is wandering, distracted because of emotional freedom, emotional dependence, emotional bondage, claiming that I am worthy of suffering. And that is involuntary, that is caused by the emotional. That is caused by the emotional. Sometimes we say, I love you, one soul, two bodies. Have you heard about that? You might have said, when we were emotionally dependent on someone. No, one soul. Soul is one, but we have two bodies. Is it possible? It is purely an attachment, emotional dependence. It is important to be very clear about what is attachment and what love the Eastern wisdom is talking about. You remove attachment by living wisely, you will find that suffering ends instantly. And gradually, first emotion, that suffering ends instantly within the mind. And even if there are some symptoms at the physical level, it goes. My master used to say, fool versus wise. Fool follows the attachment, wise follows the love. Just for the sake of remembering. So, who is the fool in Eastern wisdom? Who follows what is opposite of knowledge? Do you see the goosebumps? Comes from the emotional brain. Calm down. Do you see? You see that? You see what I have to see. For animals, it is good because it saves them because of the fight and flight response. We are conscious human beings. Conscious human beings. So the first differentiation between the Attachment, and attachment is praised by the material people. Attachment will always be praised by the people who are living unconsciously, habitually, impulsively. Love is praised by the spiritual people. Who is the material person? Who claims that I am the body and the mind. I am the wealth, I am the situation, I am the relations. Obviously. Can you contemplate and reflect the moment I claim that I am the material person, and then you see the emotional attachment makes you as your lovely home. Then you start taking even a small sensation in the body as a big problem, and that manifests into anxiety. May manifest into anxiety, into depression, into duality, into a conflict. Couple of people might have experienced. Emotional brain has taken over the thinking. Attachment is based on selfishness. Selfishness is holding on to a person, event for the pleasure. It is a selfish dependence. Love is based on the well being of others, including myself. The love, emotional dependence, or attachment seeks benefit for myself only. You see that when we are depressed, we feel lonely. Lonely means that I have lot of expectations from outside, and then I'm contracted. My mind is contracted. I want to live alone. Loneliness. I don't want to talk to anyone. I cry. I have a lot of tears. This is another way to explain the mental illnesses uh, in the in the modern world. But the love seeks benefits for all. Attachment is always in the form of expectations and taking. Love is the form of giving, always in the form of giving. Let me express my love. Let me express my peace and happiness. And there comes, which majority of, I would say everyone knows, love is unconditional. Attachment is always conditional. You say that I love you, and if I do not respond in the same kind, I get you get frustrated. Conditional. Conditional. Attachment is conditional as long as I find comfort with you or I live with a person. In love, it is unconditional. I love you for the sake of love. When we do not feel comfort in relationship, this is what's it. You have changed a lot. You were a soulmate, but now after a few years, you no longer is a soulmate. It is conditional. It hampers my evolution. So when we do not feel comfort in relationship, in any situation or a person, we want to withdraw from it. That is why it is an attachment. It does not mean that I should continue to stick like a glue. I have to use my thinking brain. I have to contemplate and reflect. Attachment is a great weakness. That is the point I want to make it. It comes from the emotional brain. It is an involuntary response. And sometimes we get carried away by the honey. Whatever he or she says, we say, we will do it. So you are caught in the web of the emotional attachment, and that will cause more harm than the good. Attachment is a weakness of the mind, it is emotional dependence. Weak mind is a lonely mind, it is seeking, expecting, desiring. People with the love are in the state of fullness. Wisdom and the knowledge sleeps in attachment. In love, we are always with that wisdom and the knowledge. Now, see the difference between the blind love or the love at the first sight, or the love where we move with affection, we move with the responsibility, we move with the care. And it is very clear about the attachment, which is known as the love in animals. You see that how they love. It is all about attachment. Why? Because they cannot separate themselves from the body. They are not self conscious beings. That is why masters have concluded this attachment, emotional dependence is bondage, and the love is freedom. Do you remember the story I told you last time? So, love is existence, love is real self. This is what our masters declare. If the love is the real self, the last time I think we heard a story coming from one master. A couple, they became a soulmate, and the boy went to the market to buy something. Girl was busy. He knocked the door, and the girl asked, "Who is this?" "I am." So as long as this "I am" exists, this "I am," I think, therefore I am, that exists, it causes the emotional attachment. So the door was not open. Second time, who is this? "I am." And suddenly the boy thought, oh, there is no "I am," only you are. So in love, only you exist. Only the existence exists. You start thinking in that way internally. Why? To get rid of that emotional, that emotional. Have you heard? Let thy be done. I'm using that phrase, let thy be done. I think it is in the Bible, if I don't remember. Understand and pay attention. A great master, and he was very rich, and he used to give talks to different uh, villages in India. I forget his name. He was a wonderful. So entire lot of his students used to go with him. One student was special. He was totally dedicated, and that he followed the example of love for the sake of love. So one day the master asked, "What will you eat, my son?" So the disciple answered, "Whatever is offered by you, I will eat." Thy will be done. Pay attention. That is the uh, main theme of understanding this. Thy will be done. Whatever you are. When you sleep, whenever you ask me to sleep, because I'm in service of you. What you will wear, as ordered by the master. For every question that student answered, my life is for you. My life is for the existence. We do not know what is going to happen tomorrow, next hour. So when we say that thy will be done, it is offering what I am, what I have, what I possess to the existence all the time. I'm consciously living. I'm consciously living wisely. Who knows? I may be not be able to give you the next session. Gone. That emotional dependence of the mind coming from the emotional brain, which is an evolutionary factor that I carry forward and I enter into mental and emotional disorders. Otherwise, there is no reason. So, when the master was asking, and for every all the answers from a student came that as you wish, whatever you order, I have offered myself to you, my master. So the master started crying. He hugged the student. Now, in our journey of Eastern wisdom, nobody is a teacher, nobody is a student. Any student can evolve much faster even than the teacher. But why the master cried and hugged him? The master said, I was teaching in theory and you realized in practice. You realized in practice because for every you don't have your false I which says I have a choice. Are you getting it? Did you understand it? What existence offers us in a situation with relations, with the people, at the time, at the condition, all belongs to the existence. You are a wonderful couple. You have a love for the sake of love. Wonderful. That is helping you to evolve. But if you don't, my master used to say you have a corresponding impressions of emotional dependence that is causing you the blockage. Otherwise, the world itself is very fine place to live. Did you get it? Did I explain it in a right, proper English? We start blaming, complaining, reaction. It comes from the emotional pain, emotional dependence. I'm trying to translate that into a modern understanding or using this science. So the meaning of thy will be done. Thy will be done is the supreme love that we have awakened in ourselves. It saves us from great fears, I tell you. It saves us from failure and the frustration in our life. Sometimes you get less, sometimes you get more. Sometimes the honey said something, sometimes you said something to the honey. But every time you start living wisely, you change yourself. That makes the mind focused, and then we are road ready for a greater journey. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed. Move the mind on the entire body from first, sit in any posture. Adjust and align. Conscious mind, you see the thinking mind says, okay, now I am conscious. I have adjusted the body. I'm comfortable. Recheck again. And then move the mind from the top to the toes, to all the joints consciously, not habitually, impulsively. And that's why you see that I don't give any restrictions to the way you adjust, align, and make your body comfortable. No restriction at all in the beginning. So move the mind from the crown of the head to the toes slowly, consciously, living wisely at this moment, and experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. After all, when I say that I'm comfortable, means I have a sensation of the comfort. Now see that, pay attention, there's a very small but very subtle but very important. I feel the sensation. So when there is an emotional dependence or emotional brain is activated due to the flight and fight response, sensation is also there. Whether in terms of the goosebumps, so when we are listening to some music, we have a goosebumps and we take it, our thinking brain takes it positive. But the fact is that emotional brain has only to do, is activated only to do fight and flight. This is what the science has proved until today. If I pick up the updates in the research. So now what we are understanding, you feel the sensation, but now it's a conscious sensation. It's a conscious thinking, and then the feeling, and then comfort consciously, then steadiness consciously. Can you live comfortably all the time? If you are uncomfortable, if you have a discomfort, means you're going slowly, step by step, you're going deeper. So you have all that awareness and a knowledge all the time. Emotional brain says, I hate this guy, why he has come, I don't want to talk. But you are comfortable, my friend. You are comfortable. You see, it changes the entire perspective in life, in relationship. And that brings us to being carefree. Being carefree, free from all the cares. Who cares? Discern. Who cares? It's the thinking mind consciously, or I would say conscious mind, or the emotional mind. Make a choice. Emotional mind is always seeking, expecting from outside, like I have to earn a wealth. But why it is seeking an emotional dependence? When the love is inside, when the peace is inside, when the happiness is inside. You have that level of awareness, you become carefree. So you hardly care the unwanted, unwelcome, uninvited thoughts that enters into the mind. Being carefree. And as you are aware, there is another way to get Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, word, meaning, and the knowledge. I believe that knowledge in steps are centered in all of you word, meaning, and the knowledge. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Let there be a well-being for all. Now you see, thy will be done. It is just equivalent to thy will be done. When you are repeating consciously, when you are thinking consciously, when you are reflecting consciously, and I can easily tell you that you have a differences with a couple with your own honey, and you are mentally repeating. You are creating a corresponding positive vibration in your relationship. Now the body is out of that emotional fight and flight reaction because of this chanting. I'm just applying the practice in your daily life. Your honey does not know it, but you are doing it. Then what will happen? Your response coming from the mind with love and care expressed physically. So your body manifestation is not out of reaction, blame, and complaint. You find that love is moving. I believe you get it. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. We all are, we say human is to err. We are evolving, so we reacted, we realized. And now we replace Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Let there be peace for all. And no, start from the home. Oh, I reacted, so let there be peace for all. Let there be peace for my honey. So you see, you are not under the control of the emotional brain. You are under the control of the conscious mind. From thinking to the feeling. Pay attention, my friends. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Let there be wholeness, completeness, holiness. There are many words. But here the message is the completeness. Why I should feel completeness in myself? Because peace, happiness, love are my essential nature. The existence is complete. I am a creation of the existence, so I have to be complete. Again, come down at the application level. What is that? My expectation, my seeking outside is based on the emotional dependence. But when I'm complete, let me give. Why should I? My mind is always ready to take. You think, you feel. That is the meaning of let there be a completeness. Sarvesham Purnam. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. So what is going to happen? You are living wisely. One way is to thinking, but the result? You are living in peace. You are living in wholeness. You are living in well-being. When? At all time, in all situation, in all locations. Love is already there. You need not to think. You said goodbye to the emotional brain. If I'm trying to uh, help you assimilate this principle based on the scientific understanding. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sometime I know it happened to me. Sometime I used to repeat it mechanically, habitually, but repeat it and then check. Am I living wisely? So I have to start with a conscious thinking. When you are saying Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, let there be a peace for all. But our hatred against a person does not allow us to be in peace with that person. So conscious mind pushes again. Okay, now let me live peaceful. Let there be a peace for all, including me. But the mind does not listen. That mind is the emotional brain. I related it to the goosebumps, fight and flight reaction. That makes you forget all the principles of Eastern wisdom, even if you are learning for 10 years, 20 years. That mistake Buddha realized after 6 years, and he settled into mindfulness once and forever. So it goes on. That is the journey. Check it. Look at the head and the neck. You are aware and feel sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Aware of the right arm. Now, do you have a goosebumps consciously? So I never said this, but now I can say that the moment I say you that move the mind on the right arm, you stay with an extraordinary awareness and attention. You feel an extreme sensation of tingling, of numbness, of freezing. All those sensation erupts because you're doing it consciously. The emotional mind or the brain will not return for fight and flight reaction. You see, I'm not doing anything extraordinary. You already know it. I'm just making you aware. So experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left arm. So you are aware. You're extraordinarily aware, but don't push your mind. It is natural. So while guiding you all, when I do it, I feel an extreme tingling sensation in the entire left arm. While guiding you, sensation, relaxation, and stillness. The middle portion of the body, from the shoulder and the front chest and the belly, from shoulder down on the back, the spine, shoulder blades, and So you see that habitual impulsive mind demands you to experience a particular sensation. Then the same emotional dependent mind says now this sensation corresponds to anxiety, to your depression, so called long list. And what you are doing here, you're experiencing sensation, relaxation, and stillness. So I told you, when you are following the path of meditation consciously, you feel sometime you will experience the freezing of the body, cold and the heat and the tingling and the numbness. So what should I do? I accept it. You're not doing anything. You're not doing any active step. So question of having any negative emotions doesn't arise. Right leg. From the right side of the waist to the toes and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. I remember in New Jersey there was a guy who had an extreme fear and anxiety. Extreme fear and anxiety comes because you relate these sensations. And I used simple four-step relaxation that you might have done before. I modified it, I extended it, sometime for an hour, and he got rid of it. Left leg, sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. The entire body, with that extraordinary awareness, moving the mind from the crown of the head to the toes slowly. Level of awareness is intense. Why it is intense? Because the mind is not running after any seeking, expecting. You will experience as the mind moves on the body, so you feel the sensation. Almost you'll have a goosebumps. How the science can explain that? There is no way. I used to practice until I said, okay, I want to feel that sensation. It means I consciously create it. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Look inside the body from the crown of the head to the toes. Again, move slowly. Experience the emptiness or projected darkness of the space. That is quietness. And we did it when you experience any sensation inside the skin of the body. I designated those sensations as the state of calmness. We have to explore that state of calmness deeply. But for now, just accept that. And now look inside the center of the rib cage. Our heart of Eastern wisdom is at the center of the rib cage. Look inside the skin. Become aware of the space. And first start with an abstract triangle. Equilateral triangle pointing upward is the symbol of Shiva. I know everyone has heard of the Shiva. And the same equilateral triangle, when it is pointing downward, it is known as Shakti or the consciousness force. But we are pointing it. So now move the mind on the triangle, dropping Shanto Hum on each side, or Om Shanti. Drop Om Shanti. On one side, second side, third, and clockwise and anti-clockwise. And then looking at the center of the triangle, moving the mind inside while singing. Om. Shanti. When the mind seemingly stops, appears that as if it has stopped because you have reached deep inside the cave of your heart. There you drop Shanti. There's a conscious self-absorption. What happens in self-absorption? I know that you know everything. In self-absorption, I forget myself. Who is this I? Let this I go. Let me remain in that state of awareness. What I'm seeking, permanent peace and love. Where it is, deep inside. I have found it. So when I have found it, the seeking is gone and the seeker is also gone. Are you getting it? We are moving ahead slowly, not only in talk and understanding. The moment the mind returns with any crazy, unwelcome thoughts, do the same thing again. Triangle, movement, clockwise, anti-clockwise, dropping Om Shanti on each side of the triangle. Then at the center of the triangle, singing, moving inside the cave of the heart, Shanti, and done. And now instead of a triangle, replace it with an image of a person whom you love the most. Find out. No, I'm attached. Okay, that will work. Because your mind claims that I love that person the most, or your mom, or your dad, or elder. So, elder means respect plus love. Equal means the couple. So, that is a deep friendship with love. I'll explain you Sakha Bhav, Vatsalya Bhav. Or maybe your son or your daughter, or your sibling, younger one. So there you show her your love. Anyone will do. So you have that image deep inside the heart instead of a triangle and move the mind on that image from the toes to the top of the head. It will arouse some feeling, maybe a couple of times, and then same thing from the heart of that image, the mind moves deep inside. Shanti. I know it is extremely difficult to put that principle of love into the practice, but I'm trying using the different ways. Second time again with the same image. When you're moving the mind on the image, the mind, because of emotional attachment, will arouse opposite feeling. Let it be. But conscious mind should do it. The emotional attachment will change to the emotional freedom, love for the sake of love. We love babies and the cubs and the babies of animals and the human beings. Instantly, instant response is because the mind becomes like a baby. That is what happens in love for the sake of love. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it in your eyes. Open the eyes inside. Know your experiences and bring the hands down. How are you, Stephen?
It was good. Um, it was just emptiness. It was blank all the way through. I had no thoughts.
Good.
No. There was nothing. It was just absolute nothingness. In fact, it was so quiet that every now and then I pop out and go, am I sleeping? Because I was so calm and quiet, which I wasn't. And I just fell right back into that deep quietness. It was great. Thank you.
Emotional attachment, you will have lot of thoughts, lot of feeling, lot of sensation. Emotional freedom, you're already free. What to think? Why to think? But when we become a soulmate, we always have a doubt. It's going to the dentist, and I don't want to tell you the name of that doctor. So she should, I'm just engaged. So do you believe? And I always crack some jokes pertaining to the Eastern wisdom. Oh, so you found your soulmate? Yes. Do you believe 100%? No, 50%. I'm checking. Gone. You have started with an emotional attachment. Think how we respond, how we live in this world. How are you, David and Jay?
Very, very kind of similar to Stephen's. Very simple, very nothing, very. But it was like your words were guiding me through the whole journey of nothing, if that makes sense.
That yes. You see that in emotional freedom, the mind is not going anywhere. You have a pain in the knee, but the mind is not going there. It is not causing any suffering. And you take care. That is the power of love. In emotional attachment, no, I have pain here, and I have pain here, and I have pain here. I have pain in the entire body. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. It was just a really beautiful meditation. That calmness is always there, and even though there may be lots of waves and turbulence, they always know that calmness is there and use it throughout the day. And I really appreciate the analogy of the conditional and unconditional, because I think that the unconditional, we know that love is just always the same, never changes, doesn't matter how anybody reacts. It's not about what they can do for us. And the conditional is hijacking and sabotaging of that love.
Hijacking, sabotaging, blaming, complaining. So while you were explaining, I had a thought. You try this. I used to, in India, I used to meet a lot of people, even my students, and I said, oh, my master has come. So I used to superimpose the image of my master on them. So same thing. You pick up anyone, and you superimpose. How are you, Brandy? You have a good opportunity. You're going for a marriage ceremony, so superimpose.
Not my marriage ceremony, everyone. It's my cousin.
No, that is very.
But it is a family event, and those can be emotionally binding. So to your point, in my meditation, when things came up, kind of like the jury, I was like, I just choose emotional freedom, and there was like teetering on the line of that sometimes, but I could come back into the space, to the blankness.
Beautiful. Yes, the sense of emotional freedom, if it is there, you will find mind is naturally focused all the time, 24/7. You don't want to worry about, my mind is distracted, my mind is wandering. You see the relationship, emotions, and the thoughts. So, how are you, Ashok?
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir.
Good and peaceful. Yes.
Good and peaceful. And love to Shivani.
Thank you.
Shivani is his wife, so They have both have been my students, so sometime I get liberty to say something. How are you, Sangeeta?
सर बहुत पीसफुल था और लास्ट में तो सर आंखें खोलने का मन नहीं कर रहा था absorb था
Yeah, very peaceful. She doesn't want to open her eyes at the end of the meditation. How are you, Sam?
Good. Experienced some blankness and body got pretty cold.
Yeah, pretty cool. Definitely, that is what I have been telling you. Our conscious mind brings that experience of the cold and the hot and tingling and the numbness, and that is helping. Everyone is close to me, including this Sam, so don't think too much. Sam, are you listening? Oh, yeah, yeah. So, are you, Vaibhav?
Sir, I'm fine. It was quite calm.
You see, very good. I got email from Terry. Did I tell you last week that do you see that she wrote me one-liner that I has a surgery, that's why I'm not attending the session. Do you know that she is suffering from Parkinson's? Can you recognize her state of mind? She should have written so many things. Can you imagine? No, it doesn't mean I'm not comparing, but I'm just telling you. At that stage, that is the beauty of the wisdom. How are you, Rakesh?
Thank you, sir. Sir, during the practice, you took me to the state where I was. It was beautiful, and at the end, I didn't want to come out.
Didn't want to. Very beautiful.
When you close the session.
Good, wonderful. Great master, I'm referring, great master Ravindo says when you practice meditation and it becomes difficult for you to return from it, check that these are the indications of successful practice. Hi, anesthesia.
Thank you very much. I'm so calm. It was very deep, also hard to return like after a deep sleep. It looks like a hibernation process, and I've had my body remind me about itself due to my goosebumps. I had a lot of them, but I always have when I'm listening to your lessons. I constantly experience goosebumps, and when I have my reflection and insights, it's somehow connected. And also today, when I was imagining this person who I'm attached to, in compared to the first time I had tears and I felt a lot of emotions. But today, even the imaging was not clear. It was like in a fog, and I was very calm and peaceful. Thank you.
Very good. I know anesthesia has given me a liver. What about your goosebumps when you are with your fiancé?
Oh, they are so casual. They are not so deep.
So you have already answered. When it is casual, that is what the emotional attachment is. no, she asked me, she sends an email and asking a lot of questions, and I answer her. So that's why I've taken her the liberty. So just check it, understanding that, oh, these experiences. Just one example, you see a person you hate, your physical expression, your voice, your thoughts, everything changes. Can you bring it that change completely? Can you live with that state of emotional freedom? So let the tears come, let we experience those changes during the practice so that we can move from the emotional dependence to the emotional freedom. And that is all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Namaste.
Everyone.